This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved. It's your what, sorry?
Piranha.
It's pretty cool.
Right, let me just quickly, hello everyone, just quickly moving people around.
I was doing my piranha impression.
It was a very good piranha impression. There you go.
Very much.
Excellent.
Piranha 3D.
We are all in position. Fantastic. Darth says, good luck adventures. He's going to be back
Thank
in
you,
about
Darth.
an hour after he's had some food. Yeah, so hello and welcome back. What you having, Darth?
Or let me guess, pizza.
Well, it'll be something quite light because he was out for his Christmas works do last night. And he was a bit tender today.
If he was out last night having his work do, he probably had pizza for breakfast, because you always get a pizza and eat half, and then the following morning it's still on the side, and you think, why the hell not?
Best breakfast ever.
Breakfast of champions.
So so I think he's gone, but never mind. He'll probably tell us shortly. So so welcome back.
Fried rice is awesome.
I'd be festive.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's mine. That's my Christmas design. Yeah. Da 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 da. Mr. Pickles is thinking, what?
I'm
It's strictly
not fully lost.
It's strictly come dancing.
Yeah.
I think you have it in America as well, don't you?
Strictly come dancing?
Yeah, when celebrities learn how to dance and then they compete against each other.
We might, but I don't.
They do things like the foxtrot and the tango and the waltz and proper dancing.
I bet the wifey watches. That's the wifey.
Yeah, shout her now.
She might know more than me on that.
So
All right, you go then. Bring her in.
She's not even here.
If you can't join in the conversation.
what do you mean she's not there? Do you say get out of this house now? I want to play.
It's like Bake Off or the English baking shows you
Yes.
call it, but with dancers
Yeah,
and no baking.
It's not my favourite one. I quite like Dancing on Ice because there's more chance of serious injury on Dancing on Ice.
Shattering a knee, severing a nose.
Whenever they do
Gemma
that,
Watson.
whenever they're doing that head bagging manoeuvre, I am just praying.
I've actually done that.
So, anyway, welcome back. Welcome to the second episode of Shutting Down Sniffer. I made. I've come to the conclusion that if with role-playing games, GMs are always in the wrong, even when they're right, they're still wrong. But I made a bit of a boob up last week, and got some of the facts round the wrong way, which I will correct shortly. I've already told the players in the Discord chat, so they're aware of it, but I will summarize in a second once I allow the players an opportunity to introduce who they are and who they will be playing tonight. Off you go, people.
Hi guys, I'm Chugga. the character that I play is called Gulliver. He's an apprentice in the Order of the Kraken, which is one of the 4 sorcery orders on Odis. The Order of the Kraken, which is the Blue Order, specializes in spells revolving around communication, teleportation, and transportation. As the sorcerer, he has the ability to shape his spells to how he needs them to be. He can change various aspects of them, like the range, the magnitude or the power of it, the number of targets that it can affect. He can even combine several spells into a single casting, although this is a lot harder to do. He also has various low-level spells, which are based on the folk magic realms of Mythras. He refers to them as his cantrips. He's the youngest member of the group, fairly scrawny, not very strong, ginger, although nobody holds any of that against him. Recently injured in the battle against the necromancer himself, or who Gulliver likes to think was a necromancer, took a very nasty rack spell to his leg, which now causes him to limp. Even though he's only 18 years old, he walks with a fairly bad limp. It affects his running, and he can't sprint at all. But he doesn't let things like that get him down, and I shall pass on to Longshank CPG.
Hello, my name is Hengist, and I've been a traveller from across the sea, but I've been settled now in Lindo for quite some time, and I've taken up with this party for various bits of adventuring and trying to instill a bit of justice and my own sense of moral code and into Lindo. I've recently bought a house in the posh part of Lindo, so I'm now a member of the gentry, which means I have my own house and I have my own manservant. I am a warrior by trade. I fight with a sword and shield combination, clad out in heavy armour, which is emblazoned with my family's crest of a rearing horse. And I will pass it on to Mr. Pickles because Medivac is drinking.
I'm Mr. Pickles, and I play Bartleby Fumus, which is our team's theist. And Mythras, of course, theists are clerics and general healers, protectors, casters of divine miracles. Bartleby serves Amriel, which is the lightning goddess in this setting, and she gives him powers to purify wounds, make sure people don't get diseases or poisons, give energy, punish those in some ways with taking away energy, though that could be from another god, but that's an irrelevant thing. Bartleby overall isn't really a fighter. He's just a helper. He tries to heal people, and that makes him a bit of a coward.
He's a lover.
He's a lover. Yeah. And he's a friend of the guards now, too.
Yes, he is.
Beyond his priestly duties, which he often utilizes within the poorer parts of Lindo to help people, he also has passion for candles, and he loves looking into stories of monsters, particularly old tales that would be told to frighten people. Sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't. We'll pass it on to Medivac.
Why, thank you. And my name is Medivac, and I play Hazri Khan. He is from Odess, unlike everybody else. I think Bartleby is from Odess. He's from the Steppes, which is the high north of Odessa, and he was part of a clan that used to travel along there, called the Grey Ghosts. He's following this group after losing his clan, and he's been helping with them ever since. He's a tracker, a scout, forager. He wears a light armour, which is a padded quilt-like armour, which covers his entire body. You can just normally see his eyes, as he has a full face, his face covered up as well. He also has his left arm fully covered, as his right arm as well, but mainly his left arm, because his left arm is blackened by something that happened in one of his first adventures with this group. And one day he will find a way to reverse this, maybe through the power of Amriel, we do not know. He loves being out in the wilderness. He has now a little cottage outside the town of Lindo. When he's inside the city of Lindo, he's not at ease. He finds it hard to track. He finds it hard to do things that he's comfortable with. He He's he's in his mid-20s. He's an average height. He's just shy of 6 foot, but he's quite lithe, whatever, with that. But yes, and with that, I shall pass on to In Wills.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So before we do the recap, I remember, Bartleby, that last week you engaged with almost like in a drinking game with the guards of Lindo, and I think that I mentioned that you would gain some kind of passion with them to sort of like use while you're around. So you may call your passion for the guards anything that you wish, but it will start off at 30%. Plus your willpower plus your intelligence.
Wow.
So 30% plus willpower plus intelligence.
You're a priest, aren't you? You just call it passion for the gods.
Yeah.
Sure it's willpower.
No, sorry, not willpower, power.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Dang,
power
two
plus.
best scores.
Yeah, but that I thought that really sort of like links it together. You're obviously quite a chatterer, and especially when you've got your sort of like your oratory skills and things like that.
It's amazing what 200 silver pieces can buy you nowadays.
Yes, and so you will be able to use that, Bartleby, to augment quite a lot of other skill rolls now. So I was thinking maybe just like you use Streetwise to augment things when you're in the slums, you could actually use the guard's passion to augment when you're doing like investigation within Lindo, because we can say that part of your investigation would be tapping into the guards and asking them, but if you didn't want to do that, in the sense that if you wanted to keep it secret from the guards, then you wouldn't have to add that passion on. I think also Hengist increased his passion of being a famed warrior. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking with that the other day, that because of what Hengist does now and is more in the gentry, I was thinking that maybe that passion of being a famed warrior is almost like being developed through stories, and he sort of like generates stories all the time. So it's almost like people sort of like accept that he's a famous warrior, so it might be able to be used to influence people or get access to something. But there might be a bit of a difference between his actual story element and what he actually
definitely.
what he's actually sort of like done. And you know, although there's stories of greatness that you sort of like spread, but really and truly there might come a time then it sort of like maybe comes back to bite you a bit, so you sort of think drat. But yeah, I think I was just thinking, as that passion increases, then it's probably through stories, and so you probably start off that people in the gentry on Noble Hill are actually hearing those stories, and that's where it sort of like starts off. So it's probably not what's that passion at the moment?
It's at 14 at the moment.
14. So as it gets higher and higher, then people are more likely to know you in other places, and so as you use it to augment, it will become more and more of an influencing skill, which I thought would be quite a nice idea. Okay then, so that sort of like ties up those bits from last week. And last week we started a new adventure, and the adventure beforehand, the head of the Thieves Guild in Lindo, who is called Sniffer, who the party had foiled a plot by Sniffer in the previous adventure, guarding the guild mistress, and Sniffer came back and took his revenge on the party. The party was not very pleased by this, and they joined forces with two people, a merchant Margot, and the mercenary called Brian, who had been involved in the attack by Sniffers on the characters of the previous adventure. They joined forces and decided that rather than actually killing Sniffer because Sniffer might be better the devil you know, and they didn't want to sort of like who would replace him. They came to the decision that it would be better to shut him down and try to stab him, not in his own body, but probably where it hurts them most, in his businesses. And so with the help of Margot and Brian, the two NPCs that had joined the party, a plot or a plan was conceived. And this is when I went slightly off script and forgot to read what I had put, which meant that the players got somewhat confused about what was happening. So I'm going to clarify it now in simple terms so we know. Just to let you know, you might find that Discord's not working. Google is currently investigating an issue with SSD, persistent disk, in our region, what our database clusters store their data on. We are awaiting their resolution given the starvation. We are expecting continued API latency. As most of you will data transfer currently degraded. We will post you as soon as we get them. So I can't actually log into Discord. So if you're in there already, you might just find that everything's taking time, or you can't message each other. Or if you're in, it might be fine. Okay then. So basically, the plan is as follows. Margot, who's a merchant, is aware that Sniffer does deals in a certain way. And what happens is that the goods come into Lindo, and then they're transported from the docklands to the place of purchase. And then there might be people within Lindo that are taking the goods off, and then these could be spices, it could be material, silks, or it could be narcotic drugs, or stuffed taxidermist animals. It could be anything. So basically what happens is that the ship arrives, and when the ship arrives, the people on the ship know where to take the goods and at what time to take the goods there. Okay, so they have that information. They know where to take the goods and at what time. They then meet up with some of Sniffer's companions or his assistants, and they know, the assistants know where to take the cargo once it's in Lindo. So it's a bit like the people on the boat know where to go on the docks, or maybe to a warehouse or somewhere. They stayed there, and then their people go off, find where the cargo is going to, and then they transport it to there. So basically what happens is that the cargo is at a place now, or when we start the adventure, and 2 or 3 or some of the crew come through the slums, and they meet Sniffer's assistants either at the Mouldy Dolphin or the Saggy Mermaid, and which are both sort of like taverns in the slums in Lindo. So they will come along, normally without you interfering with them at all. They would come along, go in, and the people would make the deal and say, right, okay, then take the stuff here, this is where you need to take that, and then the deal is finished off there. Money exchange hands at that point, and then as they come back, they pay levy or dues to Sniffer's assistants once they've come back. So if you like, they go and get the money, and then they take that money, and then Sniffer takes a cut off that. So basically what the party have planned to do, they've decided to split in 2. What's going to happen is that the sailors or the cargo people, the people in charge of the cargo, will be coming across the slums when 2 of the party or all the party will apprehend them. Okay, and you need to get from these people, You need to get from these people where the cargo is at that moment. Okay, so it's been taken off the boat, say, and it's waiting at a place ready for transportation. You need to get that information from those sailors, we'll say, for want of a better word. Then 2 people, I think you've decided who, will then go into either the moldy dolphin or saggy mermaid, I can't remember which one you were going to go into, posing as the sailors to get the information from Sniffer's assistants where the goods need to be carted to. Okay, then you have both pieces of information. You can then go to where the cargo is, deal with anybody or anything which is there, transport the cargo yourself, meet up with the whatever is waiting at the other end, do the deal or not do the deal, or beat them up or profit, keep the money and profit from it all, keep the cargo, or whatever you wish to do. It would be completely then up to you. So is that clear for everybody? Does anybody have any questions about that?
No, I think it was only me who was confused. Nobody else.
Brilliant.
That's fine, thank you.
Yeah, okay then. So basically, I think you had separated yourselves out into two teams. What was that? Right. Who are the alleyway team, and who are the going in and using, pretending to be somebody else team? Who's who?
Gulliver and Hazra are the alleyway.
Oh, right. I'm just moving you round on the sheet, on the main sheet, so I can see who's with who. Okay, so and Gulliver and Hazra are the grab the sailors people and sort that, and then keep them and deal with them however you want to deal with them. And then Bartleby and Hengist, you're going into the bar, the tavern, and trying to get the transaction. Yeah, is that correct?
Sounds about right.
Fantastic. How exciting is that? Okay then, so let's move you down onto that. What is there's something that's absolutely tiny on that main screen, and I can't see what it is. I think
Whereabouts are we looking?
I know, I found it. It's all right. It's just a picture to come out really, really small. No, on the stream. Garish, thank you. Garish says evening all and says good luck. Yes,
Garish.
You will need it. Okay then. So I've got some. I know that Bartleby went off and got some information from the guards and built up a passion there. And I think Gulliver went off to his friend Captain Seatide and had a chat with him and got out some information about what to wear and what weapons, etc., etc. And then I think what you did was that you went off and bought some gear, which was absolutely fine. You could just use the normal equipment list for that. And we were just getting to the point of deciding what we would do next. Now, the first question I have is, you remember that there's 2 taverns, isn't there? There's the Mouldy Dolphin and the Saggy Mermaid. Had you decided which one to go to? Were you fielding them both? What was the plan there?
As far as the Gulliver and Hazra side of it, is Gulliver able to sort of check out the area beforehand, maybe make a streetwise and see whether or not he can find a street that, no matter which way that they're going to be going to the whichever tavern they're going to, they're going to have to go down that street. So it doesn't matter whether or not they're going to the Dolphin or the Mermaid. Coming from the docks, they would have to come down this particular street. If that's
okay, then. Yeah. So is the plan therefore for Gulliver to find a sort of place for that to happen, and then tell me the rest of the plan, and then is the plan that Hazra and you will follow them? Where's Bartleby and Hengist going to be? I just need to know roughly.
I mean, from what I've just been saying, it's mainly something that we would sort of like try to do a bit. We would try to do a bit before. From the information that we've already got, sort of a bit of legwork that he would do is just, we know where the ship's coming in. And we know the 2 taverns.
Yeah. So what we'll say, I think you can.
Yeah, there will be a fork off where they will go either left or right in a sense.
Yeah. So assuming that they don't take any back routes that you're maybe not aware of or don't know of, if you look at the map, can you see the map?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you'll probably find is that can you see this place that I'm pinging now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sort of like there, that is probably the cut-off point. So if I just mark on, so we'll say something like these are the 2. Oh, hang on, let me just change that because I wanted the pointer on and I made a box. So this is the moldy dolphin is sort of like round this side. And then the saggy mermaid is sort of like over this side. Can you see those dots?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably the main street. You can see the main street from the docks is here. So they'll probably come up there and then go one way or the other.
Okay. So, I mean, the plan would be if Haz was okay with this plan, for us to be positioned somewhere close to the intersection.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'd be thinking more like we'd be sort of like in this cul-de-sac here, watching them come towards us, and then we could like funnel out and go either left or right, perhaps.
And then follow them down. Yeah.
And then waylay them in whatever way we decided at the time.
Okay then.
Is that okay, Gulliver?
Yeah.
So what about Bartleby and Hengist? Where are you staying with the rest of the party? Is the idea that you will apprehend these people together? And also, what about Margot and Brian? Is there something that you would like them to do? I'm not saying that they would do it because you've got influence roles. But they're quite happy to discuss the overall plan with you. And as you probably have gathered, they're quite keen to get revenge on Sniffer, just the same as you are.
I mean, Gulliver doesn't think that there's anything that they could probably help them with. I mean, this part of the plan this part of the scenario should be pretty simple.
Okay.
Get the information.
We could use Brian for that, though. And it might be nice to have Margot's knowledge with us. I'm having a hard time thinking of why we would split up at this point, because any knowledge that we get from these people will help the overall encounter going into wherever they were going.
That's true, because
influence the people to believe that we are actually sailors.
And we would need to know which of the 2 pubs they were going to. And if Bartleby and Hengist were separate from Hazra and Gully, then how are we going to get that information to us?
Well, Gulliver, but I still feel like we could sticking together would save.
I agree in a sense, but the other thing I don't want to happen is for Margot and
Brian,
thank you, for their faces to be seen. Because if somebody gets away, they're too much of public figures.
If we take them out of the equation, I think what Bartleby was saying is, rather than Hengist and Bartleby being separate from us 2, they might as well be with us 2. So there's 4 of us here.
It'd be a lot quicker to take them down, a lot quieter to take them down. That way, 4 of us. The question is, are we going to leave them alive, or because the problem there is detaining them? I mean, let's go to character. To be fair, do we kill them or do we keep them alive? I personally think we dispatch them, because if they may break free and then come and raise the alarm.
leave that type of thing to you and Hengist normally.
Brian might help in swiftness.
I just don't want it to get into I don't want it to get into a fight straight away before we have a chance to get the. Because all it would take is for one lucky blow, either on our behalf or their behalf, and well, we might not get the information that we need.
No, it's true. I mean, what I was thinking about doing, and maybe not the seat intended here would be walking up like in a staggering way and maybe saying, oh, do you know the way to the Hairy Hobgoblin? I hear it's a good place for a drink, to maybe stop them from walking forward. And then while I'm doing that, perhaps it would buy you enough time, Gulliver, to do that thing you do where you stop people from moving.
It's possible to do. The thing that concerns me is that we're not going to know which sailors we're actually looking for, are we? I mean, this is the dock area. There's going to be a fair few sailors wandering about. So surely we should have somebody observing the docks, waiting for them to come off the ship. Because if what we're going to do is don't
Yes, I agree.
Of them.
No, we don't. Maybe then in that case, I should be myself and be perhaps a vagabond by the docks. And then if I see them come off the ship, I can stagger myself up and perhaps just follow either in front of them or just behind them.
Is Margot and Brian still with you for this discussion?
They can be. I mean,
yeah.
We could be having it in, wherever.
Yeah, that's so. Margot, sort of like somebody just reminded me that the people are back to front on this one because I didn't move people around. So everybody thought that Mr. Pickles was actually Medivac.
I feel your pain.
That sometimes happens.
Yeah. So Margot, the merchant, sort of butts in when you're talking about ships, and she says, "I am aware of the normal ships that frequent the docks, and which ones that are likely to be doing trade with the Sniffer character. It might be possible for me to be able to see which ones are in dock and then actually point it out to you or follow them or give some kind of sign if that would be an idea." Brian sort of pipes up and says, "I am not too sure that a lady should be allowed down on the docks late at night if this is going to happen after dark." Merchant Margot, "Oh, Mr. Brian, will you please stop being so guardian-like to me? Believe me, I have been around the docks at night before tonight." And he sort of looks a bit.
I think it's probably best left for Hazard, to be honest with you. He should be able to get back to us once he's seen what the sailors look like, so that we can then spring the trap. The only thing that I would be concerned about is, if you're watching the docks, you've then got to get back to us, and then that could be dangerous.
Yes, Margot goes on, but you will need to know the ship that the sailors debark from, surely.
Well, then please tell us which ship it is.
Well,
maybe you can beat with Hazra and you can point it out to him, and then Hazra can make his way back to us.
That seems a good plan. So Hazra and I can be waiting almost like, I'm just going to put another coloured dot on, that is going to be yellow. She sort of says, so we can be waiting down on the pier here, and then I can make them known to you, Mr. Hazra, and you can then follow them inland and I can make my way to she turns to Brian, a safe location. And Brian says, yes, I would be very pleased about that. I don't think the slums is a place for a lady to be late at night.
No, I agree, Lady Margot. That sounds a very, very competent plan.
And Brian says, and what of myself?
Well, you
Be
could
with us.
be wait in the alleyway for us. With us. We need to get them off the main thoroughfare. We can't apprehend them and start questioning them in the middle of the street. We need to get them down an alleyway. So we need some way to get them down there.
I can be very persuasive with my blade, he says, and he sort of like goes, and takes it out as it glints in its sharpness. Very persuasive. And of course, if they are uncooperative, then I'm sure I can deal with them and whoever else is with them quite easily.
But we need information, and we can't get them if they're all making gurgling noises from their throats rather than.
I'm sure they
wouldn't it, sorry, my friend. Wouldn't it be easier to see which way they turn before we do anything?
And then
if they turn left?
Yes. And then maybe a dagger in their back to encourage them into the alleyway. And
Yeah, I'm quite agreeable to this, but long as we make sure they turn the right way first. Because all we need is which inn they're going to. So if they go right, we know they're going there. If they go left, we know they're going there.
Believe me, Mr. Hazra, with my dagger in their back, they will go where I tell them to.
No, but we want to see where they're going first without a dagger in the back.
And if their dagger slightly slips, I am assuming they have a luck point to reduce their serious to a major wound.
I'm sorry, I do not know, Mr. Deadpool, what you're talking at the fourth wall.
I am sure that they might have one.
I want to use my influence skill on this next bit when I'm talking to Brian. Gulliver's going to say to him, thinking about it, you're probably right, Brian, about the docks not being any place for Margot during the night. Maybe it would be best if you were with Hazra and Margot on the docks when they were looking at who was coming off the ship, and then when Hazra's coming back to us to let us know which sailors there are. You can keep Margot safe and make sure that she gets off the docks to a place of safety.
Yeah, well, roll your influence. I presume it's opposed by willpower, isn't it?
Yeah. I got 41 out of 61.
Yeah, are you happy to leave it there?
I am. I don't know what you've got.
Yeah, so he sort of like says, I am not happy that you are not effectively using my skills in this situation. However, if you are sure that you can deal with this effectively, then I am happy to guard the Lady Margot. But remember, this is our one chance at this. If we do not succeed, then we will not be able to pull this stunt again. For Sniffer will be alerted to our ruse and what we are trying to do.
I think it's probably going to be the best plan.
I will stand next to Lady Margot and protect her. I hear Lady Margot go, oh, like that, as if she sort of like thinks, and she sort of like looks at him and says, I hope you're going to dress something in a different way. You stand out like a sore thumb at the moment. Believe me, Lady Margot, I can be a shadow when needed.
Out of character on this, is there any from the times that we've been down at the docks? Because we've been down there a couple of times during the night. Are there stuff like vagabonds about?
Oh,
sort of
yes.
like street urchins or stuff like
Yeah,
that.
there's vagabonds, street urchin, ruffians, thugs, ladies of the night, gentlemen of the night, creatures of the night. The slums is probably more lively than the hottest nightclub in the city at all. I mean, it's probably an area that very rarely sleeps at night, mainly because the majority of business is done at night and they can sleep all day. You are aware, because you've been down here before, that there's no street lamps down in the slums. If you remember, there's no sort of like, the only light that sort of like cascades out are from things like the entrances to taverns or abodes or housing or anything like that. So it's not pitch black, but at the same time it's not bright light. Basically, I would say to you is that if you're trying to perceive or do a perception roll, then you probably think it's going to be one level harder, one difficulty grade harder. However, if you're trying to do something that is want to be unseen, then it'll probably be one grade easier because it's so dark. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So Gulliver's then going to say, so really we need to get the sailors maybe down into an alleyway. So we're not in view of everybody if a fight breaks out, or we need to get the information from them.
Well, that's what I was saying. If we use this little cul-de-sac behind us, and we see which way they're going, and maybe lure them back from where they're going into this cul-de-sac, then that would be the way to go. So maybe if once they've been made known to me, I will come back as quick as I can ahead of them. And maybe if I position myself on this side and act like a vagabond, and Hengist maybe on the other side, hidden, and we see which way they go. And then once they commit to that way, Hengist or myself can force them back into this cul-de-sac here, the little alleyway where you'll be with Bartleby.
If you don't mind me asking, but how are you going to force them back?
With a fierce demeanour.
With a stern look.
But we need to know which way they're going, because if we find them, perhaps they may tell us the wrong information.
But just to let you know, when you say that, Gulliver, Brian sort of like goes, I have ways of making them turn down an alley if you wish to have my assistance.
Couldn't you just offer them cheap street drugs?
I just think that's so funny coming from Bartleby, as if he's a man of the cloth, but he's a worldly man of the cloth.
I mean, I come down to these places, not at night, but I know that everybody has earthly desires here. I'm sure you could try and persuade somebody who's been at sea for a long period of time.
I did have a plan, Bartleby. I mean, I'm quite happy with you being accustomed to being down here. I was thinking more of helping out the urchins, but also using it to our advantage. So we know who the people are going to be, because Hazra is going to let us know. I was thinking that maybe we could, I don't know, maybe we could get one of the urchins and pay them some gold coin to, I don't know, maybe snatch one of the sailors' purses and run down the alleyway, and we would pay them for their services, and they could get to keep keep the coin purse. The sailors, they're going to chase them. They're just back off. They're just back to shore. They're just back at the docks. They're just being paid. They're going to want the money for beer and food and the other things that you and Hengist like to do.
What?
I come down here to help people. I
There are all manner of help you can give them.
I've brought you across to the map, so you can, and I've put on the crosses, etc. So the purple cross is the ship would be down to the south. Does that make sense on there? So they would come up and they would go right to go to one tavern and left to go to the Mouldy Dolphin is to the left or to the west, and then the Saggy Mermaid is to the right. I'm just going to, while you're carrying on talking, I'm just going to bring your characters, your tokens on. They'll be a bit big, but don't worry, I will be making them smaller.
I'm not the best person of making a plan. I mean, Hengist is a tactician among us, but once Hazra has an idea of who it is.
Look how big Bartleby is.
I'm the biggest.
King of the world.
It's Gulliver. It's Gulliver's Travels.
This city is now mine.
He's just got a hilt. He's got nothing else.
I know, because he didn't have one, so I had to. He had a sword down there, and I've photoshopped it off.
Now he's got a parchment sheath.
Yeah, but when he's small, you don't see it.
No, I thought maybe once Hazra was back, he could maybe be on this corner here, waiting for them to come back, and we could maybe hire one of the street urchins, and they could be on the other corridor, and then Hazra could make it known which one it was who we wanted to apprehend, and then once it is, if we could get the street urchin to grab one of their coin purses and run down this alleyway and maybe round this corner, and when they're round that corner, that's when the trap will be sprung.
Seems like you've thought this through very well, Gulliver. Seems a good plan.
You all should.
The question is, how are we going to make sure that the street urchin does his job or her job?
Their job.
Ask, have we ever had urchins that helped us and didn't just steal?
This goes back to
if we offer them a silver coin,
they're going to laugh at us.
With more coins, once they complete the job, they'll probably just take the silver coin and go.
As urchins do.
Or perhaps maybe they'll say, those men over there have given me money to take your purse. Will you give me more money to not?
Ooh, hang on, let me just make a note of that one. Thank you.
Gulliver, you're the first urchin I've met that steal from me.
Go.
Gulliver the urchin.
So if we can't get to do it, then one of us is going to have to do it.
Which of us could pass for a street urchin?
I was thinking Hengist.
How about maybe myself? I mean, Hengist, what are your thoughts on this before I say what I think?
I've already. I think this is a good plan. The only other option is we could waylay them and direct them down, rather than getting an urchin to chase them down there. We could say that there's a new tavern or a new brothel which comes heartily recommended, that is down that alleyway and direct them down there.
But they'll probably check it out after they've been to one of the either the dolphin or the mermaid, because they'll be more concerned about doing the job at hand and paid for that.
I agree. So why not hang it? Why don't you buy a large cloak that covers all your armor and yourself, and you could pretend to be a vagabond. Oh God.
A vagabond.
Vagabond down this side, and I would be a vagabond at the other side. And whichever way they come, we would then walk into them, but then maybe take an aggressive action against them, maybe hit them, and then run away down the alleyway. And maybe they will follow us if we hit them.
I don't think that's going to work.
No, maybe that's it.
Draw a blade and throw.
Oh, dear.
I think it's a. I think
But maybe go say, can you spare some change for a poor old man who has not eaten for days? And then if you say no, you spit in their face and run.
Buy a flower off a Captain. Buy a flower off a poor gal.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have to realise that if you're pretending to be a vagabond, Hazra, then you're not going to have your funny curvy sword with you or your spear.
My staff to keep me upright from falling over.
I don't see many vagabonds down here with an 8-foot tall staff with a big piece of metal on the end. Maybe a bit of driftwood, but well, there's a bit of a difference. I'm not going, but you're
I'm not from the city, my friend. I
down here for a year.
I'm not a city dweller like you people. I do not know the ways of the vagabonds here.
We either tried to get an urchin to do it, or I think I'm going to have to do it. I don't move as fast, but if I can get up to them without suspecting anything, and just maybe make a grab from one of their coin purses.
Oh yes, we haven't used sleight of hand, haven't we?
No, that's because it's not a skill.
What is it though? Is it?
I think it comes under deceit.
Or does it come under stealth?
Or professional skill?
If it comes under stealth, then I'm quite happy.
Let's have a look.
I would have thought it'd be professional skill.
It could be.
Or who's using their mouse scroll wheel?
It's not me.
Yeah, so stealth tends to be more about concealing, i.e. hiding. What does conceal is being the concealment of, like, for instance, conceal a chariot behind rocks, etc. Yeah. Is there?
There's
What's the
sleight
same as stealth?
on page 49.
What?
Physical page 49.
Yeah. What is it?
Sleight.
Oh yeah, sleight of hand. Yeah. It's
They don't add the of hand. It's just sleight of anything.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So that will be the actual skill, which means if there's a skill like that and somebody doesn't have it, then it cascades down to something like stealth. But as it cascades down, the difficulty gets 1 or 2 grades higher. And I really like professional skills because they say on a critical sleight success, the character has manipulated the object so successfully that any subsequent attempts to locate it are 1 grade higher. Failure means that this subject is not concealed and will automatically be detected if any effort is made at locating it. And then fumble, it's dropped. Which is...
I've got a question.
Could you use sleight to move a little bit to the left?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, you'd be using sleight, right, to steal from somebody without them knowing?
Yeah. Correct.
And the point here is for the people to become notified.
Yeah, so what I would be saying is that if you do the sleight and or say the stealth and it fails, because you want it to fail, but the role in this case will be, I want to be able to take the purse but escape from them. So what I would say then is that if you succeeded, you've taken it succeeded what you've done, so they've seen you take the purse and you've run off, and that would be the success. If it was a failure, you've taken the purse, i.e. they've seen it, but as Gulliver tries to run off, the man goes, huh,
Gotcha.
and grabs him. So judging on, I always see it as if players tell me what they want the success to look like, then anything that fails is there. And it might be a critical, might be that Gulliver takes the purse. A fumble would be he takes the purse, he drops the purse, he falls, and the guy picks up, so he's actually then prone. So that would be the degree of difficulty.
So if it cascades down to stealth, then I would be the better person to do that out of character.
Bartleby, you spend lots of time down here. I mean, have you helped any of the children of the streets?
I have, but that's the parents that appreciate my assistance, not the children.
But do any of them know you? Do any of them know that you're a man of their word, a man to be trusted? But for example, if we try to get one of them to maybe, steal a corpus and run down this alleyway, and say that if they did it and that
Discord. Oh no, it's up, but it's not loading in.
Saying that you were holding a bag of 10 silver pieces for them, and that they would get that because, well, they know that you're a man of your word.
I think, Bartleby, you probably don't, but you know a person who does.
Oh yeah, that's right. My friend down at the bar.
Yeah.
That's not one of these bars, though, is it?
No, it's not.
Oh, thank heavens.
But she could fix you up with some.
Maybe like an in-between person, even.
That's a good idea.
Just to let you know, that's why I checked Discord, because normally what I would have done is message that to you, Mr. Pickles, so to remind you, but I can't at the moment.
To remind you, seeing you didn't pick up on it yourself, you.
But Bartleby now knows so many people.
And I believe her name was
Rolex.
Her name was Marissa, right?
Yes.
The lady who owned. I would like to pay her a visit then during legwork time.
It's not the.
But I think I can persuade her to talk to some children.
And so it's just one. We just need somebody who's quick on their feet and good at snatching objects from people.
I really like how Bartleby's character's developing, because he's sort of like a support person in the actual party, healing, protection, and then in the legwork he's almost like this person who knows.
He's a man of the people.
Yeah, it's sort of like, if you've got a job, he knows where to go.
He's our fixer.
Yeah, exactly, which I think is brilliant. And he's probably got the skills for it as well, because you have things like oratory, don't you? And
I do.
Yeah, and influence and things like that. So and being a man of the cloth, you always have that perfect cover, as well as you just show your mangled hands, which is fine. So let's go down. What's the tavern called where Melissa works?
Oh no, I don't remember what it was called.
You can make one up. I haven't got it written down. I'm just going to make a character called
the Drowning Horse.
Melissa.
The Drowning Stallion?
Drowning Stallion. Okay, got it.
Down Stallion.
No, I think drowning is a good one because it sort of like fits in with the down at the docks. Because
they're close.
It's a port city.
Yeah, and everything down here, all the taverns almost like have a a feel about them. They have a theme that goes through that. It's some kind of...
It's a nautical theme.
Yeah, a nautical theme. So the Drowning Stallion. And it's also nice because of the often wave crests are seen as white stallions cascading over, just like... is it Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit when...
Lord of the Rings, when they go across into
Rivendell.
Yeah, Rivendell, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay then, Bartleby, you head down. It's probably more late afternoon rather than evening, or is that the sort of time
that would be good. And I'd like to bring a little bit of silver coinage too.
Yeah, and is anybody else going to the Drowning Stallion with you?
I'd like to invite him.
No, I'm going to stay by the docks because I want to make sure that I know my route.
Okay, yeah, good idea. So
you guys do have to dress right though if we're going to Drowning Stallion. Hangest.
Of course, possibly. I'll be in my.
I don't like your hilltop type.
I just have visions of Hengist trying to blend in and sort of like saying, "Good morrow, my name is Engus." As he tries to adjust his speech.
Prithee, give me a bowl of your finest soup.
There's a wonderful quote in ESO, and there's a sort of like a pot, and it's just like NPCs, and there's somebody stirring the pot and smelling it, and as you walk past the other NPC says, "That is not a stew. That is my laundry." I just think it's excellent. I actually go back and forwards just to hear it. So yeah, and that's what I like about ESO.
What you stream is that you just keep going backwards and forwards.
Yeah, well, I was going to try to use it tonight. I had it written down ready, but I just I couldn't keep it in that long. Okay, so who else is going with Bartleby? Is he going by himself, or
has Bartleby asked for anybody to go with him?
Yes, I would love for you guys to come with me, but you have to dress right.
Okay, in which case Bartleby would choose who went with him.
I didn't know I had to choose friends here.
Yeah, I just imagine now Gulliver.
I choose you.
There's Gulliver and Hengist both are like stood at the wall, and both of them are sort of like, Bartleby, we remember the last time that we had that fun time together.
Remember Bartleby that I threw my shield in front of you to see if you're getting roasted alive?
Well, you all saved me numerous times.
Just to throw it out there, but just at this point. Hengist, and I'm talking to you, Bartleby. Hengist would look significantly out of place in his armour, and so his sword is probably fine, but his armour would probably, definitely not his helmet and his chest plate. Maybe vambraces and greaves would be fine. So he would have to sort of like disregard some of those things.
What do you need somebody for, Bartleby?
Protection.
I've had some bad experiences down here, and I don't want to talk about them. But I think Gulliver, it might help if you came along with me to help articulate the desires. Sometimes I have a hard time explaining bad things. Melissa's going to make fun of me if
I was going to say I wouldn't be able to stop you if you get that type of desire.
Hengist, maybe get looking impoverished so that we can do the transaction tonight. And Gulliver, you come with me.
Do that.
Why don't we take Brian in instead?
And Brian says, "I am fine walking into one of these hellholes of taverns."
Does Brian looks more like a mercenary than?
He looks. He doesn't look a thug. Hopefully that's how I portrayed him. He's not a thug, because when he actually came to pick up Bartleby, he was quite honourable.
I imagine him. You won't get this. in Wales because you don't watch the things that we watch. But
It's not porn, is it?
The same title. I imagine him to look like one of the Night's Watch in.
Oh,
okay, yeah.
Rough, ready.
Yeah, sort of like, he's capable of defending himself, but he's not.
Brian comes across as very capable,
Yeah,
but he's probably in his profession as a mercenary because he doesn't do well with authority and orders. He tends to work by himself rather than being a part of a gang or party.
Yeah.
The other thing that Bartleby does know, and he can share with you, is that he's also quite happy to do wet work. One of the things that, if you remember, annoyed him, Sniffer annoyed, is that he wouldn't kill somebody because he thought it was the person hadn't done anything wrong. So he's almost like he's quite happy to kill people, but it's almost
there has to be
like
a reason.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a Martin Riggs of the fantasy world, which is Lethal Weapon, everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to take Brian with me then if Gulliver feels uncomfortable going down to the bar with me.
I don't feel uncomfortable going to the bar with you.
No, it's fine. I understand.
I'm quite happy to go so that I can be there to watch your back. But hey, well, there's a bar fight. I'm not really any good at that.
Brian, Margot has slumped down in the nearest chair and just got a hand like this. And Brian says, "I've heard less discussion with a bunch of fishwives," under his breath.
Yes, make
in that case,
Bartleby.
If nobody wishes to accompany Bartleby,
Why not?
I am happy to go along with him.
Then we're off.
Why don't you both go with Bartleby?
I apparently have to choose. So
No, you can take both, can't you?
Brian sort of like stands up and takes his cloak off the wherever it was thrown, and almost like does a flourish with it as he takes it round his shoulders and fashions the clasp of it, and then he sort of like looks down at he's almost like he's not wearing metal armor, but it appears to be rigid leather. It looks very sturdy, but it doesn't look metallic, and he sort of like looks at it and he says, "I will keep this closed. It is obvious from my attire that I am somewhat of an expert in the fighting, and that may give us either an advantage, Mr. Bartleby, or is it Father Bartleby?"
it's not yet. I'm still an initiate.
Right. Okay then.
There shouldn't be that many problems. We're just going down to a childhood friend's.
I suggest we leave, Mr. Bartleby, before the sun sets over the far side of the town. Let's go to this. And he sort of like leads you to the door, looks around and sees whether or not you're following, and then suddenly realizes that he doesn't know where he's going, and he says, "I will follow you, Mr. Bartleby." And you make you.
As soon as they're out of earshot, Gulliver's going to turn to Hengist, and he's going to say, "You might have to keep that Brian, Hengist. He seems a bit keen to, plunge daggers into people's backs, and, of course, bloodshed. We've got to remember that we need information from these people."
I will do my best to keep a leash on him.
So Bartleby and Brian sort of like makes their way down into the slums to the Drowning Stallion, and as you get closer and closer, it's about 3:00 in the afternoon, so the sun is past midday. We're in autumn and winter, so if you're coming into winter, if you remember, of the season, so it's probably quite low in the sky, casting those long shadows that you get at that time of the year, and the air is cool. There's obviously some kind of chill approaching through the night, but you've got your cloaks on, and Brian walks quite confidently around. But you notice, Bartleby, that he's always very much aware. And although he has one hand by his side, you notice that his other hand seems to be inside his cloak, and you assume that it's resting on the his hilt of his sword. And he sort of like leans over to you and says, "We have done this before, Mr. Bartleby. Do not worry. We work well as a team in this situation. Just remember, if we are outnumbered 10-1, then you take 2 and I'll take 18. And he sort of like carries on down as you lead the way to the drowning stallion. As you get closer and closer, you notice that the streets get a little bit more dirtier. There's vagabonds in doorways. Some of them you figure are still sleeping off the night before alcohol. And as you walk down, you do suddenly realize that there's some ladies and gentlemen who are out preparing for the evening and night entertainment, and they sort of like see you coming down, and they seem quite shocked that there's somebody of your stature, and sort of like lean up against walls and sort of like smile suggestively and wink their eyes at you, and you sort of like take a look on them and then narrowly avoid a pile of puke that's on the floor that you nearly stood in, as Brian sort of like pulls you or pushes you and you stumble across it. And eventually you get to the drowning stallion, and it's open, but it's quite deserted inside. Melissa's at the bar. Cleaning is probably not the right word, maybe just moving the slop around. There's an open fire in there that has some kind of pot on that is sort of like bubbling and sort of like going bloop, bloop, and which you are aware, Bartleby, that is the stew for the night. You've never actually tasted it, mainly because you've heard Melissa joke about the type of meat that she puts in it and fish, and although she appears to be joking, you're not too sure whether or not she's joking to mislead you and put you off, or joking it is really dog and cat and the odd seagull bobbing around in there. And there seems to be a couple of occupants as well as Melissa in here. There seems to be some kind of barmaid who looks very tired, and she's sort of like taking the stools and benches off the table and putting them back on the floor, and then she's wiping the table. And over in the corner there seems to be a man who sat at the table, but he's obviously either out cold or completely unconscious. He's just sort of like lying there on the table, and every now and again you can hear the from him in the corner, and you sort of like what you can see from the doorway. What would you like to do?
I'll whisper to Brian, "Don't embarrass me here," and then in a much louder tone I'll greet Melissa and say, "Hello, Melissa, it's been a long time."
Are you going into the tavern?
Yes.
As you say? Yeah. And Brian sort of like follows you, and sort of like Melissa looks at you and almost like sighs a bit, but then sees Brian, and she sort of like straightens herself up and makes sure that everything is front and center, and says, "Oh, Bartleby, so nice to see you, and so nice that you have brought some company with you." And
yes,
she says, come to the bar. Let me get you a drink. What will it be?" And she doesn't look at you, Bartleby. She looks at Brian and says, "What will it be, gentlemen?" And Brian says, "I will just take a beer." And
I'll take some silver and put it on the table and some soup too, I'm sure.
"I do not need soup. Beer will be fine. and I am capable of paying my own way, Bartleby. And he sort of like opens up an oversized pouch and sort of like puts 2 silver coins on the bar, and he says, "And get a drink for yourself, kind lady." And he sort of like casts a glance at you, Bartleby, as if to say, "Do you not know how to treat ladies in this?" She said, "Oh, sure." And she sort of like takes 2 tankards from the back, and she puts one in front of you, Bartleby, and takes the coin. And she goes to put one in front of Brian, and then suddenly sees something and goes... and rubs it around inside, and she says, "Sorry, there was a bug," and sort of like puts it down and gets what seems to be some kind of picture, a ceramic jug, and sort of like pours you both. And she sort of like says, "I hope it is to your satisfaction."
I'm sure it will be. As always, Melissa, you have better beer than soup, but we come here on business this afternoon.
She sort of like goes, "Oh, business. Well, we only have at the present moment in time Beth. She looks a bit rough around the edges, but I'm sure she's most capable."
Oh, no, Melissa. No, I'm not as into the ladies as I was in my youth. We're... Oh, now this is going to come out wrong.
Here for a young child. Preferably one that needs money.
I'm a man of the cloth, you know.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
This is how bad rumors get started.
This is how you bring the House of Amron into disrepute.
"What business may I help you both with?" she says.
I'm looking for some roguish assistance. Somebody who's willing to make a little bit of money.
Sorry, Garish has just said, begs the question what Bartleby is into. Man of the cloth, ... Catholic, question mark.
Oh, garish.
Bartleby had a lady who loved him, but she got abducted by demons and got her head cut off. And then I was like, you know what? My goddess didn't like me dating anyway, so...
What sort of business may I help you with, Mr. Bartleby?
I'm looking for some roguish assistance. My comrades and I need somebody quick, nimble, and you know how much I hate to say this. Somebody who has criminal skills.
Oh, there are plenty of criminals here in the slums, Mr. Bartleby, as you well know. May I ask, what is the service that they will be needed to be? I'm going to change her accent. I don't like it, but I'll change it as we go along.
Sounds a bit too upper class.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'll drop it into something else as we go. It'll end up as some kind of pirate, so just... Go blimey! I think I might go for a Cockney twang.
Goodness gracious me.
Cheer up,
If you have to say Mr. Higgins, oh no, because that's what...
Oh, yes, you Professor Higgins.
Professor Higgins. And what kind of service would you be wanting, Mr. Bartleby?
My cohorts and I have a very specific thing we're trying to accomplish. And
Most people do, Mr. Bartleby, in this neck of the woods.
And yes, we need somebody to steal a purse.
My, Mr. Bartleby, you shock me.
I know. I wish I had somebody better to explain this, but...
And she leans forward and says, "How much?"
I can pay 30 silver.
30 silver? You only want one?
I was hoping for 2, because I don't trust all the time.
She sort of like leans forward and says, "Hand over your goods."
I'll take my 30 silver out, the standard that I generally hold in my pocket, and slide them across the table.
And she sort of like takes it all, and she says, "Will age be a concern, Mr. Bartleby?"
No. Quickness, deftness, ability to be sneaky those are the primary variables we need.
I'll get someone here for you. Yeah, I know a couple of lads, really quick, really nimble, and believe me, they can pick a pocket or two.
Well, you've got to pick a pocket or two.
Robin Hood was far too good. You got to pick a pocket or two. Sorry, Oliver. Lionel Bart.
Could you have? How soon could you get these rogues?
She sort of says, "When would you want them?"
This evening.
Come by in about a couple of hours, Mr. Bartleby. I'll have them here for you. And believe me, they will be good, very good, because
Excellent.
It's but my own reputation on this.
Your reputation is critically important here.
I remember the time you helped me out, Mr. Bartleby, so it only seems fair that I help you out as well. And she turns to Brian and says, "You sure you're not wanting any soup?" And he sort of like says, "I am quite certain, lady." And she goes, "Oh, Brian, oh, mister, I ain't a lady. Good grief. I don't know what Bartleby's been telling you, but I'm far from ladylike, I tell you that." And Brian just sort of
beat me in arm wrestling.
Oh, he sort of like looks and says, "A strong lady then, yes, not for me. Well, if you ever want to have some fun, you come down to my tavern, Mr." And he says, "Brian. Mr. Brian, you come down to my tavern. We can have some fun. Now, drink up. Would you like another one? For you, Mr. Brian, it's all on the house. It's purely on the house for you." He sort of like looks, he hasn't touched his tankard at all, and says, I'm fine, thank you, kind lady." And he's obviously getting this issue that he feels that this person is not a lady, but there seems to be something that is making him call her a lady, even though he's sort of like recognizing that she's not all that she seems to be. "Yeah, why, Mr. Bartleby, you come down in a couple of hours or two, and I'll have Mick and Flynn with me ready for you."
That sounds excellent. Again, I appreciate it quite a bit, Melissa.
And she sort of like takes the coins off the tavern and sort of like the counter, takes a few of them and puts one of them in her mouth and just bites it just to make sure. And she sort of like sees you looking and says, "Oh, we have to make sure they're all real now, Mr. Bartleby, don't we? You little scamp." And she sort of like puts it, she takes like a rag, puts all the silver coins in and ties it up. And says, "Yeah, you come back in a couple of hours and Mickey and Finn will be here ready for you. Don't worry, they are grand pickpocketers."
Excellent. And I'll wave to her and look to Brian. Are you about ready to report back to our comrades?
Yes, I think. Thank you, kind lady, for your attention and your food. Offer of food.
Yeah, well, we always enjoy supporting Melissa. And then I'll if Brian's following, I'll make my way back to the group to report in.
Cool.
So when they're gone, Gulliver wants to be having... What on earth is that?
It's a couple of urchins. The sea urchins.
Oh dear.
You wanted a couple of urchins.
That was actually pretty funny.
And I did all that when you were talking.
Oh,
There you go.
Imagine Googling it and coming
I
up
did.
and-
I
and
Googled.
cross-reference it to make sure that what he was actually downloading. You could have made them transparent.
Well,
so
do you want to know? I did start to load up Photoshop to sort of like take out the wire. But it was taking too long.
I bet you were trying to make it last so that you could do it during the break.
No. I knew if you guys are plotting, I know I've got significant time. I've actually knitted a cardigan as well.
yeah. It's like all best plans you fail at the first encounter.
Yeah, it's a bit like the A-Team. That's what I think
Yeah.
of it. Yeah. Love it when a plan goes. Okay then, so just before we go to the break, because it's nearly past, so just I'm going to recite the plan back to you and you can
There
correct
was
me.
another bit which I wanted to
Oh
do.
yes, sorry, go for it.
So when they're away, Gulliver wants to have a word with Margot to see whether or not she has any warehouses down on the docks, or whether or not she knows of any empty warehouses where we might be able to maybe store these people should we have to take them alive until we have a chance to. Gulliver's going to make it known that it doesn't matter if she knows of a warehouse that isn't used very much, that might be sort of like locked or boarded, because we've got ways of getting into something like that without damaging the
Okay then, so
just somewhere that we might be able to stash them.
yeah, so so Margot has a locale skill. I'm just checking what it says. Okay, she has a locale skill of 72, which she can use there. So Gulliver, if you would just like to roll a 1d100, and then we know whereabouts. She can probably find you a warehouse. Where do you want it? Close to, far away? What would be your perfect situation?
It wants to be close to where the ambush is going to be taking place, but not somewhere that they could be. I mean, we need at least a day or two.
Yeah. Okay then. So if you roll and then is that your? That's not so if you roll,
no.
she has a locale of 72. So what I'm going to say is that there is one. Okay. So if you're successful, it can be. You can decide on the map where you want it. If you're unsuccessful, then Margot still knows one, but it's on the next tile or a little bit further away, and it's going to take a little bit further to go.
Is my roll based on a skill? Can I augment it with anything?
No, because it's rolled on her skill.
That's fine.
So 72% is the augmented. It's her locale, but she has a knowledge skill. She has two knowledge skills. One's the area of the slums, which Bartleby, it might be something that you actually want to pick up at some point. But the other thing that she has is knowledge of the merchant guilds and things like that. So her augmented one is 72.
Okay, this is the roll.
Yeah, so that's brilliant. It's not a critical or anything, but you can choose. Is there any sort of like location on the map that you would like? Just to let you know, the taverns are probably on the next tile either way. Does that make sense to people?
Okay.
Yeah.
So can Gulliver use his once she says, this is the areas that she thinks would be a good one to use. Can Gulliver then use his streetwise to maybe try to work out which one would be the best if we're going to apprehend them down here? We don't want to be.
Sorry, can you just, because I'm really okay. So you're going to take them down, yeah. So
that's the plan of where to.
So you can choose any one of those buildings around there.
Okay,
if that's what you would like.
Yeah, so maybe this one.
Yeah, okay. That's absolutely fantastic. That's not a problem. Let me just look what it looks like inside. So we're not... is that the one? Yeah. I'm just putting it on and then Can you see that? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the small one. So can you see there's a building there, there's a building there, there's a building there. So which one?
So that one in the corner.
Corner. Yeah. Okay. Then so I'll take that away. But if we need to get there, we know that it's on the corner. So the doorway for it is literally there. Yeah. Where I've put it. Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
yeah. So, can I just run through the plan quickly, and then or I tell you what, why don't we take the break, and then I'll run through the plan with you, so we know, and then we can go straight on with it. Does that sound all right? Or would you?
Yeah.
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 Okay then. So, if you're watching the stream, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break now, just to rest our tiring muscles and get a drink to drink. So thank you to everybody who's watching in the chat. I hope you're enjoying it so far. High Ascension Stories as well. I did see it, but I was in character. But thank you for popping by as well. We were going to take a 10-minute break. So we'll be back at in 10 minutes, which should be 42 minutes to the hour, or past the hour about 18 to. So yeah, we'll see you then. So go off, have a drink, stretch your legs, and we will be back soon. You can go, but be back soon. I don't know, somehow I miss you. This place I'm pacing round. Oh, these Southerners, I tell you. Right, we are going live, so get ready. Pardon me. So I did the classic of putting the kettle on, going to the toilet, then coming back to the kettle and figured out that I hadn't actually switched the switch down. And so I picked it up and poured it into the thing and then thought, and had to rinse everything out. Darth had Chinese takeaway.
Very nice.
Well, no, you can't just say Chinese takeaway. You need to be specific when you say Chinese.
He said Chinese takeaway. He said, yeah, it should have been something light. I wouldn't class Chinese food as great for my stomach, but I was lazy. He said it went down pretty well, though, and he said, welcome back, team. So they want to know, Darth, what was the Chinese?
I'm going to go for Kung Po chicken.
What, sorry?
Kung Po chicken's a good shout.
I don't.
Yeah, it's also a good film.
I don't know what compo. What's compo chicken?
Kung Po chicken. No, you won't know it. You don't eat Chinese.
I know.
You don't eat chicken.
So is it like what's popcorn chicken?
It's
Chicken
like
that looks like popcorn.
It's like really small.
That's KFC.
Yeah, it's like little small bits of chicken breast. Done
Then
Oh,
a batter.
I thought it was chicken and popcorn, sort of like mixed in
that's just
together. He
That's
had
like having peanut butter on toast.
That's beautiful.
he had Singapore chow mein.
Oh,
That was my second shout. It was chow mein.
A bit of class, I think, there.
yeah, prawn crackers.
Well, he can hear you, so I'll tell you when he.
Toast.
I would have had prawn crackers with it, and then some banana fritters with maple.
I've not had banana fritters in years.
No, I've not.
God, and we had Chinese in the night as well. You know, so it's like, oh my God.
Anyway,
Okay. Okay,
No,
so
let's discuss Chinese.
So, let me relay the plan back to you as I see it, and then correct me at the end. So, Margot and Brian are going to be stood on the dock side. She is aware of the ships that do trade, illegal trade. Yes, he did. I had some crispy seaweed and spring rolls too.
Nice.
Vegetable or duck?
Was it 47 or 24? This is all.
I would probably have had. I would have had duck spring rolls with that. I wouldn't have gone for vegetable.
No, I would have gone for veggie.
So they're
Anyway,
going to be down on the docks. They're going to
Hazra.
with Hazra. Okay, they're going to point out the sailors or whatever, and point them out to Hazra. Hazra's going to follow them up to this.
No, he's going to. Once he knows who they are, he's going
I'm
to
going to be good ahead of them.
as quick as possible to get back to where we're going to be.
That's exactly right.
And then, so you'll all be there, and then what will happen then, you'll see which way they go, and then...
So the only people that will be... Everybody is going to be down this alleyway, apart from... When I say everybody, Hengist is going to be down there, Bartleby and Gulliver.
So I was zoomed in, so...
Down this, where Gulliver is now.
Okay then, yeah, so...
Hazra is going to be out here. He's going to make Mick and Flynn aware of who we want,
Okay.
and then their instructions are going to be to grab the coin purse or coin purses, and then head round this corner. And
But also to make sure they're aware of that they've been stolen.
yeah. So
Okay.
the whole thing for them is that they've got to get them to chase the two marks to chase them. Once that's done, Hazra is going to be moving down this way. His thing is to block off the corridors. Hengist's thing is to disarm the things, and then we're going to get the information off them, tie them up, and stick them in this room here.
Okay, so the only exception to that were, I think that plan sounds very full and detailed. I'm not saying successful. The only thing that probably would happen is that Bartleby is going to have to give the orders to the urchins, since they are his urchins. You know, they're working for him. So, but apart from that, it just means that
Bartleby, who's coming?
Yeah, and Hazra, you can sort of like point them out, and then Bartleby can point them out to the urchins. The urchins can go after them. Meanwhile, Bartleby, if you wish, you can head back to the tunnel and the alleyway, and you can almost like be the forward guard, so everybody's there is ready, and you know they could come. And so you want the urchins then to swing round there. Hazra, are you waiting to see which way they turn?
Yes, I would have thought so. I would tell them what the describe this, but the urchins should know that we don't hit them until we know which way they're going.
Yeah, so we
need to know whether or not they're going to the dolphin or the...
got you. Okay, then. So
right or left, and once I've made a positive decision, the urchins go in, do the distraction, and leg it back.
Okay, then. So do
we have the answer about spring wells yet?
He said, this is like an interrogation over my order.
Yeah.
He said, then he said, it was meat string rolls, so that could mean anything. Right. And there's that person, is it Total Biscuit or somebody laughing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, not the Total Biscuit, yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. So everything seems to go according. It seems to be set up. Just to let you know that it's about 8 o'clock at night when the action starts. Bartleby, you go back to the drowning stallion, and you see these two street urchins there. One called Mickey and one called Finn. They look very almost like identical twins. And then you're not too sure whether or not they are twins or maybe related, or they just look like all urchins look the same. They seem to be quite hyped up, and you see Melissa say to them, now you just be nice to Mr. Bartleby and do exactly what they say. And she sort of like hands them over one silver piece each, and says, and if you do a good job, and I'll be asking Mr. Bartleby, there's another silver piece for you both when you come back here. And they sort of like yeah, and they sort of like take their silver piece and sort of like stuff it somewhere, and they seem to be very bright-eyed. Bartleby, you just make an insight roll for me, please.
I can count how much cut she just probably took there. Or can I?
You sort of like that. It does look. These children look very alert, and to say that it's 8 o'clock at night, you've figured they're probably 10, 11, 12, and they look quite jittery as well. You're not too sure what, but they don't look like two normal urchins would. They seem very hyped up and ready to do things. And Melissa says, well, go on then, go to Mr. Bartleby, and you make sure that you look after him. And you're about to say, Bartleby, you're meant to say, yes, of course. And then you suddenly realise that they're talking to the urchins, and she's talking to Mick and Finn about you. To look after you rather than the other way round. And you know, the drowning stallion, there's quite a lot of chatter and things there, and they sort of like come toddling over to you and sort of like look at you with big eyes and say, we're ready when you are, mister. Honestly, we're ready when you are. And then one of them says, I'm much better than him. He's not as good as me, mister, but I'm the best. I could actually pick the pocket of a giant as he slept with both eyes open. And the other one sort of like nudges him and says, don't talk a whole load of rubbish. You can't pick a giant's pocket because it's far too big. And you sort of like go off together as you sort of like, it's a bit like having two young children, Bartleby. You're trying to sort of like keep them from running off. They seem very eager to do it and very, very excited. And while you're sort of like walking to the rendezvous point, Hazra, you're down on the docks. I'll just put you onto the dock areas just so I can talk about that. So you're down at that sort of like yellow spot there with Margot and Brian. Margot seems to have some kind of really heavy black hooded cape on. You can't virtually see any of her at all apart from her boots that seem to be black as well. You don't think they're leather. There might be some kind of doe skin or maybe something else, but they look quite, they don't look shabby. Brian's there in his normal regalia, hand on sword, trying to look inconspicuous, but flinching at every sound and looking around all the time. And after a few sort of like half an hour, 45 minutes, Margot sort of like catches your eye and points over to a ship which is docked just in the corner here. Okay, and it's actually docked here, and I was trying to make it draw so it doesn't look like anything that you laugh at or anything, but that's where
Penis.
No, I thought you might laugh at it because it was a bean or something like that. Anyway, you notice, and you can see on the prow of the boat, you can see that it's got like a figurehead of a mermaid on it, and it's called the Singing Siren, and you can see it. It looks very battered, but it looks ocean worthy, and there seems to be a lot of activity taking roughly about a carriage load, a wagon load of boxes, crates off, and they seem to be piling them on, and you notice that there's two ruffians sort of like stood there sort of like keeping an eye out. They seem to be having daggers on and with nothing else, just as Gulliver found out from Captain Seatide in the previous session. They don't look to be heavily armoured or anything like that, and they're just sort of like looking around. Could you make a perception check for me, please?
Certainly.
Remember, this needs to be hard now that it's night time.
No, I'm not going to use a point look.
Okay, so you look round, and they seem to be filling up a wagon. It's not a horse and wagon. It looks like a wagon that has sort of like a bit of wood coming out that maybe people
Yep.
And there seems to be about 6, maybe 7 crates on it, and people, they seem to be doing very deftly and very with quite a lot of skill. And then 2 people come down the ramp. One seems quite tall but spindly. He seems to be dressed in what might be considered finery, but very poor quality finery. You think he might be the captain, he might not be the captain, you're not too sure. From where you are, you can't see any armaments or anything like that that he's got. And next to him comes a rather shorter man, but a lot broader. He seems to be dressed in sailor outfits. He's got a bandana on, like a white shirt that you can see is all mucky with like a waistcoat over it, and almost like Alibaba pants tucked into boots. And he's quite, you can see that he's actually has a chest harness on, and he has 3, maybe more dagger hilts sticking out of them. He looks like he's quite, he moves very naturally. I think the best way with that perception roll is what I can say. And they come down the the gangplank, and they sort of, there's some kind of exchange that goes on, and you're not too sure what they say. And Margot leans down to you, across to you, and says, they are arranging to take the place to something about to the entrance and await orders. and there seems to be some agreement. And what happens is that the two people come past you, and you're sort of like, what are you doing, Hazra? Are you being a vagabond or what?
You muted, Hazra.
Do you know what I did? I was unmuted and I actually muted myself to talk.
Yes, that's
So-
what we prefer, thank you.
Bada-boom. To be fair, I didn't want them to pass me. Once they'd been identified to me, I was just going to walk away.
Okay then, so you can probably be on the opposite side of the road to Margot and Brian, and as they sort of like, they have this exchange, and then they sort of like set off, and the tall thin man sort of like is trying to make himself more presentable, and they walk towards where Margot and Brian is, and just as they come round, they get close to it, Margot suddenly turns on Brian and sort of like grabs him and sort of like plants a kiss straight onto his mouth, and you sort of like see Brian go a bit rigid as the kiss comes, and they sort of like walk past, and so you give her it, yeah, you go for it, mate, and they sort of like carry on walking, and then they take that turning down, if you can see it, down this way. Yeah, so what would you like to do?
I'll be ahead of them and I'm going to go straight to the crossroad there, at which point I will describe them both to Bartleby.
Okay, Bartleby, what?
But Bartleby is a tall, spindly man. He's some frippery. He thinks he looks pretty, but he's not. He's pretty poor clothing, but he likes to think he looks pretty by the looks of it. And then there's a shorter man with he's broad. He looks like he's very capable of himself. You can tell him because he has a waistcoat, and he has his harness going across here with knives in it. But he looks very sure-footed.
Just to let you know, the guy with the red dot on his token is what you think. That's a tall, finely dressed guy who is obviously some kind of maybe the captain of the singing siren there. Yes, Bartleby. So, Hazra, is that where you want to be now? Just.
Chances are I would move just a little bit further away.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. You, so Bartleby, they sort of like. The urchins look at you.
I'm assuming I already went over the plan with the urchins.
Okay, so and what plan? What was the plan that you told them to do?
So the plan I would have told them on walking to this area is, once we point out who you're supposed to steal from, you wait for my signal, which is going to be like scratching my nose, and then you go and you take anything you can from them, and you can keep it, but you have to make it so they know you're taking it, and so they chase you. And they seem to understand that.
Yeah, and they do say, "Hey, but Mister, we could take them and nobody would ever know."
That's not the point. We need to we need them to chase you, but we'll make sure that they don't catch you.
And where do you want us to run to, Mister?
I believe it's up this way, this alley that we're in. So
this,
if you guys could
to this alley, I think that's where you would direct them to. Yeah.
Bartleby wasn't like taking notes of the plan.
But you'd have to.
They sort of like, yeah, right, Mister. We can do that. And one of them turns to the other and says, "Well, I'm going to try to nick it. Okay, you do something else." And the other one goes, "No, I'm better. Let me do it." And they sort of like seem to be about to almost like go to blows. And Bartleby, you probably say, "Children or lads or guys, you need to do the job quickly. Remember, there's another silver coin in it for you." From Melissa, and they sort of say, "Oh yeah, sorry, Mister, yeah," and they sort of like, almost like quite dramatically, sort of like take up a sneaking posture, as if they're going to do it very almost like play acting role rather than being professional criminals, and the two and the captain and his mate, we will call him. So captains with the red, come up to this corner.
But before this happens, can I try to get a telepathic link with Bartleby, so that he can let me know when the trap is about to be sprung, because we're going to be round the corner.
Okay, yeah. And Bartleby Bartleby's quite used to this, aren't you? So there's no resistance roll. So
I trust Gulliver.
yeah. So roll your just before you roll it, you need to roll your invocation, and then how long will it take with your shaping put on for distance and things like that? Is there anything?
I'll just work that out now. So it will be I'll do it at normal magnitude. The duration is sort of like I put 1 point of shaping into duration, so that should last near enough an hour.
An hour, yeah.
15 meters should probably be enough.
Yeah, get to Bartleby in the
Number of targets 1, so components modified. So it's going to take it's going to cost 3.
Okay, and take 3 turns. Yeah. So what I'm going to say,
I'll make sure that it's done, and then this is my.
Hang on, before you roll it. So what I'm going to say is that you've had plenty of time to do this. So really and truly, no matter how you roll, the spell will come off. The only reason we're rolling is to see whether or not if you get a fumble or a crit. Can you see what I mean? Because therefore the magic cost will be more. And it might, if it's a fumble, then we'll need another roll. Apart from that, any other roll succeed, and that's it. So yeah, go for it. Yeah, absolutely fine. So you just lose the 3 magic points there, and you are now in telepathic communication with Mr. Bartleby. So you can hear Gulliver lurking in your mind.
Gulliver sort of like goes into his mind, he always says, and he starts off by saying, "Bartleby, it's me, Gulliver. Can you hear me? Hello?"
I think about saying hi to Gulliver.
Yes, yeah. You're quite used to talking like this now.
Keep me informed of what's happening when they're approaching, so that I can let Hengist know, so he's prepared, because he still has his sword scabbard and his shield's not on his shield's on his back as well, so he's not ready yet. So let me know as soon as you know when it's going to happen, so that we can get ready, and I'll then break the link and start preparing another spell.
Okay, so everything's Hazra's down one side, and the 2 seem to be walking up, and they get to this point, and they stop, and they have a look round, and people in the general area, you can see that you're not too sure whether or not they're looking around or trying to decide which way they're going to go. But what I would like from you is Hazra and Bartleby and the street urchins need to make a roll to see whether or not they're standing out or not. What skills would you like to use for this sort of like not standing out?
Well, I'll use my stealth if that's okay. And,
yeah.
Just if I'm because I'm wearing grey, which grey is the best colour just to just blend into anything.
Yeah.
We just stood there against the wall.
Yeah. So you can roll your stealth. Your stealth is mainly about out and about rather than in cities. And
he's wearing shadows, and he knows how shadows work and how they affect on his clothing. So
yeah. And when you're out and about, there's probably even less shadows than that. So you being in the town, you sort of like try your best. You try to keep in the shadows. And then Bartleby, which skill would you like to roll?
I'm thinking I'd like to use Streetwise if I can. Otherwise,
yeah.
How would be my okay? Streetwise would be looking like I belong.
Yeah.
Okay. trying not to look like a priest, and a pow.
Yeah, and you sort of like engage in conversation with the lad, and you hear a bit of a snigger behind, and the two are sort of like making conversation. Both of you now roll perception checks.
Can I use a point of luck to delve into my paranoia?
Yeah, you can just swap them round to 34.
I'm going to do exactly the same, if that's okay.
Yeah, fantastic. So that will give you a critical success, won't it, for you? Yeah, and then Bartleby's will just be a standard success. So yeah, they seem to be talking, and they don't seem to be talking about you. They seem to be talking about which way to go, and they seem to be having some kind of argument, that one's saying it's in one tavern and the other one's saying it's in the other tavern. And then eventually they sort of like turn, the tall man sort of like almost like pushes or gives the shorter guy a clip around the ear, and they turn and start walking towards the saggy mermaid, towards that. They're not the only people in the street. There are other people around. So if you make any, you'll probably find walking. But if you're running, it'll take a little bit more. You'll get a little bit less because you'll be weaving out of each other. So they turn this way, and I presume, Bartleby, you're then going to give the signal.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that the kids are at least paying attention, so they see which people that I'm trying to point out.
Yeah, and you sort of like point, and they sort of like.
And they scratch my nose very obviously at them.
Yeah, and they sort of like, as if they're children about to start the 100-meter dash, but not down on blocks. They're sort of like this, so like with one hand up, ready to do, and they keep looking at you and say, now.
Yes,
now.
Yeah,
and the urchins come running out, and one of them, they sort of like push by the in between the guy, the urchin in the front, which is Mick. Sort of like goes, Mister, give me some coin. I'm dying. I'm wasting away. I've got tuberculosis, and my stomach is as empty as a cavernous waste. And as he's doing these, and the captain sort of like, when he says tuberculosis, the captain sort of like takes a step back and looks at the other guy, and the guy, he sort of like says, he signals to this child in front, and the guy sort of like moves towards him, and at that point, just as he moves towards it, the perfect opportunity, because both people are focusing on the guy, Mickey, in the front. Flynn and Hazra and Bartleby, you both see this. Flynn reaches out to take the captain's purse. Right, just so you know, Mr. Bartleby, their sleight of hand, they actually do have the professional skill, because they are professional pickpockets, and that's what you paid for. And so they understand that if it's successful, then he will take the purse, and he will do it in such a way that the captain feels it and then turn around. So their actual pickpocketing skill is 78%. So all you need to do, Mr. Bartleby, is roll your percentile dice, and we need 78% or less.
Sorry about that. Could I have sent out a warning or made a thought that Gulliver does know that the kids have been sprung?
Yes, yeah, that's absolutely fine. You can probably do that, and then roll your 1d100. Oh yeah, and we're perfect. The urchins definitely know their their trade, and you see Finn pull it out, and he's sort of like, he's down to one side, and he reaches out and he looks at you, Bartleby, and says, oh, look at this, see what I'm doing? And he sort of like puts his hand round the pouch, still holding on, and he's still smiling, and then he goes like this, as if to say, whoops, and he tugs it really hard. And normally he would just pull it out because it's sort of like, but he's just sort of like goes chunk like that, and he tugs it so hard that the captain sort of like gets tucked, and Finn sort of like takes a step back, and so, sorry mister, I didn't mean to steal your purse, and he's obviously saying it really loudly. And at that point the other guard, the mate, turns round, and at that precise moment Mickey from the front pushes the captain to one side as he sort of like bolts through. So could you make for me, please, roll a percentile dice, Bartleby. Mickey's brawn is 27.
Oh, 27. Here's a D100.
Yeah. Oh, and he actually pushes
I got the best thieves ever.
pushes the person out the way, and he sort of like stumbles. I'm just going to his athletics is 23, and I roll a 49, and the captain sort of like tumbles to the ground as this both the urchins are there, and the mate sort of like looks round, and the Finn turns round and sort of like waves the purse at both and says, bet you can't catch us, and turn round and start running past you. The mate goes to pick up the captain, but the captain says, get after them, as he's sort of like getting to his feet. He doesn't seem injured, but he is coming to his feet. The urchins run past you, Bartleby, going like this as they sort of like run past, and you notice at one point they're almost like doing a slow motion run. Because they can't see the people following them, and they sort of like get to here past you and slightly delayed. And Hazra, you can tell me when you want to move. They are now on their feet, and they sort of like slow down and look behind because they can't see if anybody's following, and then they come around the corner and they go, oh no, we have your purse, and they start then belting for the alleyway. Hazra, what's your plan?
Once the two shipmen go into the alleyway, so they disappear from my view, I will then move behind.
Okay, are you following them into the alleyway? Is that?
Oh yes.
Yeah, got you. Okay then. So the urchins run past doing their fake run and speeding up and slowing down. And as they pass you, the captain says, "You could have stopped them, you stupid ponce!" Like this, as they sort of like keep going. You sort of go, I'm sorry, I am but a person of the cloth. And the urchins get to here with the people in hot pursuit, and then they get to this point and they turn around and say, quick, let's go down this alley, like this, and they come heading down the alley. Is Hengist and Gulliver?
As soon as Bartleby has told Gulliver that the trap is about to be sprung,
Yeah.
he's going to drop his telepathy spell, so he's not concentrating on that, and he's almost going to. He says to Hengist, "Get ready, Hengist."
Hengist will.
They're about to come round, and with that, I then want to start preparing another spell to cast.
Okay.
So on that, Hengist will say, "Thank you for letting me know, Gulliver," and then he'll draw his sword and be ready with his shield on his arm, ready to let the urchins run past him, and then he's going to close the alleyway off, so stand in the middle of the alleyway and get ready to let the pirates come in.
Yeah, so I need to know the spell that I need to know how long it is as well, Gulliver.
So that's the spell that I'm going to be casting. I'm going to be casting Hold Fast.
on two targets. So just to let you know, Gulliver can do this like a sorcerer. He can do more opponents. He can weave spells together and anything like that. So that'll take you 3 turns. Yeah.
18 seconds.
Say again, sorry.
18 seconds, is it? 3 turns?
No, because a combat round, isn't it the round that is 6 seconds?
All right. So, but he's going to.
It'll take you 6, because you do 3 actions per round, can't you?
It's going to take him 6 seconds, but then he's going to be holding it.
Yeah, and so you're
going to release it.
Yeah.
And his thing is he wants to cast it on when they come round. He wants to cast it on their boots or whatever to try to adhere it onto the surface.
Yeah. So I'm presuming that you've. Say again, sorry.
Endurance resist.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that somebody informed the urchins of the plan, and when they came around the corner, Hengist would be there with his sword and shield out, and they sort of like come round and they sort of like see him there, and they carry on running it, and you think they're going to knock into you, but at the last moment they sort of like go down on the floor and they just slide. And they go just straight through in between your legs and come out the other side. And then I'm presuming that they're going to come down here and just wait on these steps. They seem to be very pleased with themselves, Hengist, because as they come round, and you see this as well, Gulliver, they're sort of like got this coin person going and say, we got it, like that. As
take Hengist's shield.
Yeah, and they take his as they go underneath the legs as well. And then as they come round here, and they actually run into the alleyway like that. Hazra, you'll see them going in, and they the mates in front, and they come straight round, and they literally run round the corner and then see you. Remember, it's quite dark in here, so all of a sudden maybe a light of the moon comes out and glints off your armor, or somebody opens a window and a candle light shines out. It's like, what's all this noise? Like this, and they come flying around the corridor. So first things first, Gulliver, let's get your spell off.
Yeah, so Gulliver wants to make sure that they're fully round the corridor.
I'm just getting to your. Hang on, I'm just getting to your sheet. Thank you. I have a sheet for you all. 101 ways to kill your character off.
Okay, so as they come round, Gulliver's going to release his spell of.
Yeah, cool.
So. They come round and they'll almost like see him at the back, and he has his hand up, and within it is sort of like a ball of spinning water. And as they come round, he almost like throws it, but as he throws it, it disappears, and round their feet, water appears.
Cool.
Almost like instantly freezes and then disappears.
Nice. So do your invocation roll, because I don't need to make any resist unless it. Yeah, 25, and so mine's an opposed.
I'm going to use a point of luck, please,
and reverse it.
Swap those round.
Yeah. So just for people watching this stream, if it's an opposed roll, then the person who's got the highest roll wins. So if I had got 30, I would have won the roll. So Gulliver swapped them over, so the roll is now 52, which means that the score is higher. Okay then, so just to let you know who's first, and the mate is first, and he has an endurance of 46.
So unless he gets a crit.
He gets a 28, so he fails.
Those around.
He's failed, and the captain has a lower endurance. He has 34. I thought I had one that didn't do game master rolling, so you can actually see them, but and he gets an 82. So the mate tries to resist it, but doesn't. The other guy, he doesn't resist at all. he sort of like fails considerably, and you notice that they both screech to a halt, probably just out of your combat round, Hengist. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask, just to finish off this so we make initiatives, Hengist and Hazra, you can have your movement now, and Bartleby, you can have a move action as well. So Hengist and Hazra, Hengist first, what's going to be your plan?
So as soon as he knows that these the sailors have been stuck fast by Gulliver, he's going to advance up menacingly towards whichever one it was that was going to be in front.
That's the mate.
In this case, but Hengist didn't know which one it would have been.
Yeah.
So it would have been whichever was in front, and he's just going to move into combat range.
Okay, so you're engaging in combat then. Yeah. And Hazra.
Hazra will be doing pretty much like I said. We'll go around the corner, notice because I know it's going to notice I stood still, and I will stand directly behind the captain.
Yeah. Okay then. And Bartleby, what's going to be your plan?
I'm going to be sauntering up as far as my saunter speed will take me. My goal is to get to about here so I can see what's going on, but I don't want to move quickly. So if people look down the alley, they wouldn't. I want to be less suspicious than running.
Yeah, got you. Okay then. So don't forget to click on your tokens, and we will now go on to initiative. We might not need it, but we might have to, depending what actually happens. So they actually come up as bandit, but they both go at the same.
Changed his name.
His 18 is void.
Ooh, nice.
So, really sorry. Yes, I haven't.
They're both working on 11. So Hazra, Gulliver, you'll be up at the top.
A combat veteran for me in Vietnam.
Yeah. And so we'll have so Gulliver, you'll be going first, then Hazra, then Hengist, then the bandits, and then Mr. Bartleby, you'll be bringing up the rear. So Gulliver, we're straight over to you on 19.
Okay, so as soon as they've come round and my spell has come off and they're
held
fast. The next spell that he wants to do, he's going to point at the one that's at the back, the one that's sort of like a bit more frivolous than the rest, the dandy man.
Yeah.
And he's going to point at him with his two fingers crossed, and you hear him say, "Edit," as he casts his tire spell.
Yeah.
With a roll of 76, resisted once again by endurance.
So this is on the captain, isn't it?
Yeah.
So his is 34. Do you know, all I'm going to do, I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to use this, because I only like hiding it when I have to hide it, if that makes sense. So can you see that now?
Yeah, 76.
Yeah, 76. What was it? Endurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he fails. So he will now be one level. He'll be winded, won't he?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So so that's on 19. Hazra, you're on 18.
Hazra doesn't want to say a word, but what he does want to do is gently push his spear point into the man's back, not to penetrate, but just to let him know.
So you're not
somebody.
Sorry, you're not
Right.
You're not penetrating him
I'm
from
not
behind.
I'm not penetrating the seaman. No.
Okay.
Well,
So
this
just
is the
gonna-
first time for everything.
I know it's such like control, but I just wanted to rest there, and I don't want to say a word, but just that knowing that there is somebody stood right behind.
Yeah, got you. Okay then, Hengist, you're on 14. You're in combat range, and you have approached menacingly.
Yes. So as he approaches, Hengist wants to. He's going to attack, but he wants to make them compel surrender.
Okay, so use your first action point then to attack.
Almost lost my button. There we go.
So you sort of like swing your sword at it. This guy seems to be fumbling for his dagger because he's seen you there, so he's still fumbling. He probably draw it out on 11, so you will get one special attack. You need a special, then I need special, hit location, then damage.
So the special is going to be compel surrender. So
Okay.
Angus will shout, "Don't do that!" Or not shout. He'll say, "Don't do that."
Cool.
Give up.
Yeah, and do I have a resist roll for that?
Oh, I can't remember now. It's been ages since I used it. Let's have a quick look.
Finish that.
Willpower. So assuming the target is sentient, that's the demand. Target must make an opposed roll of willpower against the original attack or parry roll.
Okay, so your original attack is 57.
Yeah.
This is the mate whose willpower is nice one. 17. Ba ba ba.
This is
This is where it gets a 1.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping for. So therefore, he stops fumbling for his dagger. What does the compel surrender tell me to do?
If you fail the roll, they capitulate. The game master may wish to reserve the compel surrender for use against non-player character. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, you comply with the command of compel surrender, basically. If you fail.
Okay then. Are we running that compel surrender? Because I'm just reading it now, and it says you force the surrender of a helpless or disadvantaged target.
I was reading the same thing, and my view with that is the fact that he is unable to gain his footing because he's stuck. That was my view of that. Because I read the same thing and thought, oh, he can't do that. But then reading that, I thought, well, he's pinned to the ground.
He's unarmed in a dark alley with someone ready to fight. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's open to interpretation.
Yeah, and that's.
I think the interpretation would be down to the GM.
Yeah, it's
exactly. Yeah.
So the only
my 2 pence.
the only thing that I'm thinking about is that if we are compelling surrender when he hasn't got his dagger out, then I'm more than happy to accept that. But that would it would be the same for you guys as well. So if I got to attack first, somebody like Bartleby or Gulliver, then if you didn't have a weapon out, now I don't think that's what compel surrender says. It says that what I'm reading, it says disarmed, which I think means that you had the weapon and you knocked it out of their hand. It does say unable to regain footing. Okay, so I think for this one, then I'll take the whole fast spell to do that. And so no damage is taken from him, and he will surrender on this one, and that's only because they're held fast. I wouldn't let it go through. If you wanted to compel surrender, if he was unarmed, i.e. he didn't have a weapon to fight with, then that would be fine because he would be helpless. But it wouldn't hit the disarmed. If he had got his dagger out and somebody used their first special to disarm him and then compel surrender, that would work as well. Okay then, so yeah, so you put your thing, and what are you saying to him? I missed that bit, sorry.
So Hengist would have said, so sort of like put his sword, as he swung, his sword would have got the point, would have gone to the throat, not breaking the skin, and he would have said, "Don't do that. Give up."
Okay, don't do that. Give up. Okay then. And that bandit won't do anything. The the captain behind, sort of like, because he operates on 11, feels the dagger, the spear tip, the big spear in his back, and he sort of like tries to turn around. But as he tries to turn around, Gulliver, because you're hold fasting him, and so he can't actually hold fast. He can't actually completely turn. Oh, he's actually his athletics is not that. His athletics is actually 41%. So he stumbles a bit. He's not prone, but he sort of like suddenly realizes that he can't move one way or another. Bartleby, you get up on. That's what I'm assuming you're doing. Going up. So yeah. So we don't need to do any more of. Well, it depends what people want to do. So I think actually Hazra, Gulliver, is there anything else that you would like to do?
As soon as it looks to Gulliver that they're in hand. He's going to turn around, and the door that's behind him. Yeah. He's going to again with his two fingers crossed. He's going to put them right against the door and say in sort of like a whisper. He's going to say, and he wants to cast his knock spell to unfasten the
to unlock the door. Yeah, so that's just a folk magics.
It's a smoke magic. Well, that's it. Yeah. Instant touch and
no resistance for it.
Magic is a 16.
Yeah, and so you unlock the door. So we'll nip back now to Hengist and Hazra. So just to keep the initiative order roughly going for who goes first and who goes second. So Hazra, you will always go, give a command or say something, and then Hengist, you will be the next person to say something. So yeah, go for it, Hazra.
Hazra will whisper into this man's ear and say, "Put your hands behind your back."
So so I'm presuming you sort of like getting closer with your long spear and sort of like coming down the shaft to sort of like.
He's just like let it slide through his fingers while keeping the gentle pressure on there.
And the captain turns around and sort of like looks at you and says, "And who the hell are you?"
They said, "Put your hands behind your back."
Do you know who I am?
I don't care who you are. Now put your hands behind your back.
Bartleby, could you just make a perception roll for me, please?
Absolutely. Super eyes. Could I use a point of luck?
Behind you!
Yeah. You... Hazra's doing a really good job of keeping his voice nice and quiet and shimming along his spear. But the captain's voice is quite loud and abrupt. And you can see from where you are, Bartleby, because Hazra's really close to the captain, you can see that his loud voice is sort of like making people... So some of the... people who are walking through the slump, some of the undesirables, sort of like take notice of it. It doesn't seem to be doing anything about it, but it's not Hazra's voice. It's the captain's voice. Hengist, you're up next.
So Hengist, maintaining pressure on the first mate or the whatever it is, his throat with his sword, is just going to say, "Hands behind your head. Keep quiet."
This guy here is still under your compel surrender for the time being, and sort of like moves his hand from away from his dagger and puts it up onto his head. Bartleby, what would you like to do?
I'm not sure if this is intelligent But I'm thinking I'd like to use Streetwise or Influence to like glare kind of menacingly at anybody who makes eye contact. Like, because I presume a lot of people in this slums area who bullied me give kind of a look to say, mind your own business.
Yeah. Okay then. So you can roll. You roll your influence. You can augment it with your streetwise, but it's going to be slightly more difficult, if not 2 levels difficult, because you're trying to do it with just a look.
Yeah.
You know. So you'll add 11% onto it.
My influence, and I'm not that intimidating to begin with. So here we go.
He's got the look.
Can I use my last point of luck?
Yes, you certainly can, which will take it down to 49. And you summon up from watching the people in the streets and how people look around. You sort of like really sort of like pull a frown and almost like show your teeth. And some of them you just say, oh, bloody hell, what's with him? And they sort of like carry on walking. So Hengist and Hasro, let's take out of combat turns. I'm interested in what you both wish to do.
Okay, well, Hasra will, again, if this man speaks, he will, like, do not say another word, put your hands behind your back, or the next thing you will feel will be my spear pushing through your ribcage.
Okay then, so you need to make an influence roll. I think what's your background? Your culture? No.
My culture is no.
Yeah, nomad. Okay, so this
Nomad,
is
yes.
So this is going to be slightly, probably about 2 levels harder, 2 difficult levels. But because you've got the sword and you're obviously having the advantage, then it's going to be a hard roll rather than a standard roll. You're quite used to doing influence outside when you're talking about to traders and trappers and things, but this sea captain is definitely some kind of a bit of a rogue. So roll your influence. It'll be a hard roll on this one.
I will use my last point of luck, please, sir, to reverse that.
Yeah, which means that you sort of like say it to him, you push your, you sort of like pressurize him, and he sort of like shuts up and sees the other guy, his mate, with his hands on his head, and suddenly sort of like puts his hands on his head as well. The other thing that you do see as he does that, he seems to have twin daggers underneath his coat. They're one on either side of his belt. You figure he probably wields them both at the same time. If you remember, Hengist, you see the mate for the first time, and he seems to have a chest harness on with 3 daggers in sheaths. They don't. I think Hengist uses a dagger. Does he have a dagger?
Hengist has a dagger that he uses.
You don't think these are actually? They look too thin and long for thrusting daggers. They could do it, but they could be thrusted, but you think that they're more suitable for chucking rather than thrusting.
Okay.
So Hengist, what's going to be your plan now?
Hengist wants to hold them here for the moment until he knows that Gulliver has got the door ready so that we can get them into the house.
Soon as it's Gulliver's turn, soon as he's opened the door, he's going to gone in fumbling for his torch in his backpack, and he wants to be lighting a torch so that there's light.
Yeah.
And then finding somewhere to put it down. Don't know whether or not there's a torch bracket on the
There's
wall.
probably some kind of lantern in there.
And then once he's done that, he's going to come to the door and he's going to say, "Quickly, bring them in here."
Okay, so and then are you releasing the spell?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're currently held, aren't they? So so you can then take them all into the.
Would it be possible before we do that for Hasra to pull out the daggers out of the sheath of this guy and just chuck them on the floor.
Yeah, you can chuck the.
Discarded, basically. Yeah.
Do you want them out in the alleyway or in the house?
I just don't want them on him.
Okay then. So where would you prefer? Alleyway? Do you want
alleyway's fine.
Yeah. Okay then. So you sort of like take his daggers off and throw them on the ground. Bartleby, you're the last ones that sort of like comes into the area, and you as you walk past, you can see Mickey and Finn sat on the steps, sort of like. And they sort of like see you and say, "Oi, oi, mister, did we do good?"
You did excellently, and I will tell Melissa that you did excellently.
"Oh, wow," one of them says to the other, we might get a bonus. We might get 2. And they sort of like stand up and say, "Can we go now?"
Yes, and take that pouch of coins with you.
And they sort of like set off, and you sort of say, "And take that pouch of coins with you." And they say, "Sorry, mister, what pouch of coins?" And they both laugh and sort of like hit each other, and then they sort of like disappear into the night. Do by all means, Mr. Bartleby, put Mickey and Finn down on your contacts somewhere, and you at least know about them now. They probably won't. They probably have to go through Melissa. And I do apologise for the name. It's just I was just thinking of alcohol at that point and just called them like a Mickey Finn. I don't even know what one is, but it just seemed to go.
I thought you were going to go with Jack, Jack being Sprite, Jack being nimble.
Yeah, it was going to be called Jack and Frost, but then I thought, no, that was pushing it too much. Hi, Electric Messiah, hope you're doing good.
Jack and Daniel.
Yeah, well, that's why I was going, but I thought Mickey and Flynn, or Mickey and Finn.
But Perno and Black.
Yeah, or Dark and Fruits. Yeah.
And wine.
So you, Mr. Bartleby, are you going into the room as well? Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay then. So we're all in the actual room now. So what?
Are there any chairs or anything that we can sort of like?
Yeah, there's plenty of furniture in here. So if there's anything that you wish to do, whether or not you want to tie them to a chair or tie them up or anything like that, there's probably plenty of stuff. It's like a warehouse. So there's plenty of odds and ends around that you can use. So if you let me know how, I don't need to know the knots that you're using, but if the plan is to tie them to chairs, then that's just let me know.
Once Gulliver's going to say to Hengist, it might be better if you keep an eye out the end of the alley just to make sure that well we didn't attract the attention of anybody. I think once these are secure, then if they do manage to break free, then Hazard should be able to manage.
Okay, I'm happy to do that, Gulliver. So
Okay.
once they're secure, Hengist will go and stand on.
Yeah. So just let me know. Just let me know how how you're securing them, and I know that for future.
And I'll be securing them to a chair with rope.
Okay then.
So rope down the back, over the back of the chair, and hands tied together.
Yeah. So just roll for me, please, Hazra, if you're doing it. Then roll for me your brawn skill, so I know how tight the ropes are.
I was hoping for survival, but go on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. Yeah, so you sort of like put the ropes around and sort of like use the chair and sort of like tie them onto it. And Hengist, whereabouts do you want to stand?
So Hengist is going to go stand near the alleyway entrance, not in the entrance to make it obvious, but if anybody comes around into the alleyway, he's there.
Okay. So
and
just
leaning against a wall.
So just remember, I presume the party will bring you up to speed with what's happening. Maybe as you as Bartleby go to the tavern, and because I think the door's shut, Gulliver.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're now in this room with the Hengist. You see a couple of daggers on the floor round about where you're stood, and the captain and his mate are tied to chairs and disarmed. So what would people like to do?
So Gulliver wants to walk round to the back of them so that they can't see him, and he's going to go up to the dandy man, the captain, or the one who looks like he's probably in charge, and he's going to put his hand onto the back of his head, and then his eyes are going to close, and when they reopen, they're all sort of like going to be almost like liquid, and I am going to cast telepathy, and I want to read. I want to get visions of the time before we left the ship.
Okay, Hengist, could you just roll your tactics or strategic skill just quickly for me, please? Just as Hengist leaves, he's sort of like being quite knowledgeable about strategies and tactics. He sort of like, as he leads, he sort of like reminds you. Again, I would have popped this into Discord, but I don't think it's working. He sort of like reminds you that they were going to the meet, and so probably speed is of the essence at the moment, because it's not far away and the other people would be searching for them. And then he goes out to the thing. So Gulliver, you do your telepathy spell. Which one would you like to do it on?
The captain, the one that looks like he was given the the dandy man.
Yeah, the captain one. That's absolutely fine. You roll your show me the spell so I know what.
So that's the spell. So it's a pretty quick cast. It's resisted by willpower.
Willpower, thank you. And this person's willpower is 32.
Okay, so my invocation roll is, and I am again going to use a I'm going to use a point of luck. I'm not going to meta it. I'm going to use a point of luck to to swap those over to 54.
54. Okay then. So he has a willpower 32. He gets 28, but you are so he makes his willpower, but it's opposed by yours. So you are actually higher, and you sort of like, but you do feel that resistance. You haven't sort of like slipped in. He almost like tries to resist you, and you sort of like up it a bit to really sort of like power into his brain and start to read, to look at his surface thoughts. And initially the thoughts that you encounter is you see them almost like being scared when they're stuck and thinking, oh my good gracious me, I can't move from this, and the surrender. Then it slowly goes back, and it goes back to the emotional part when he found that his purse was taken, and then it goes back a little bit further, and you see him laughing at Mr. Bartleby when he's with the urchins, and some not very nice thoughts going through, and then you see him when he was having that conversation with that Hazra was near, and right down the docks, and he's having the conversation, and you pick some information up there. You do hear that the drop off is at 10 bells. He's saying to the people, make sure you get it there by 10 bells. And at that point, there seems to be no indication of, he's not telling them where. They seem to know it. And you sort of like go even further back, and you go through a time that they seem to be on board ship, and there's a storm. They seem to be at another town, at one point that you're not too sure about before, and you just sort of like keep ploughing through the memories, going deeper and deeper and deeper, and going through his thoughts, and eventually you're almost like back in Lindo, and there's massive jumps. The jumps are getting bigger and bigger, and you see him talking to two men in a tavern, and they seem to be making an arrangement to enter the sewer system in Lindo, and you sort of like see that, and the guy's picturing when he's talking about it the circular entrance to the sewer system in the slums that actually is like water flow straight out into the sea. And so there's a circular tunnel. It looks quite big. You can sort of like see people standing on it, but you can also see there seem to be some kind of raft and some kind of like a stick to push. And then at that point, his memories become all sort of like jumbled, and you're suddenly waking up in bed next to a woman, and then there's suddenly a seagull flying overhead, and all of a sudden there's a picture of his mom or something like that, and you suddenly think, whoa.
Can I not going to refocus back to and maybe get more information of, like a street name or a name of a tavern maybe that close to where this sewer entrance was?
There doesn't seem to be. There you can see the general area, but there doesn't. The slums are not places that will have street names on it, but you would be familiar about it. And just roll your streetwise skill for me. Yeah, you figured that it's somewhere. Maybe Bartleby may know it, or even Margot might know it. You know it's somewhere in the slums, but not. And this is way back in his memory.
Re-roll this.
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, and you're really deep back in his memory, so it's not that your spell is rubbish or anything. You just seem to be clambering around in bits of memory, and the only thing that you can get from it is that the area around it looks like the slums stop, and then there's a sewer entrance. So you figure it's either on the actual map. If I just pull you all over to the map again, you figure it's either somewhere up there or maybe here, or at this bottom end doesn't. You don't think it's there because you don't remember the wall.
Okay.
So you figure it's either going to be that little dip there, or if it was you who did the first one, probably up here. One or the other, yeah.
All right.
Okay, and you sort of like come back out of his mind, and and you suddenly remember what.
Gulliver's once he sort of like he takes his hand off the back of his head and closes his eyes, and when he reopens them, they're just the normal blue of his iris, and he's going to say to Hazray, he'll say, "I've got what we need. Gag them, and let's get going."
Do you want me to finish them?
Well, what I think will be a best time is just to leave it with that Gulliver talk, and because it's only 3 minutes till 10, so that seems to me a really good place to leave it, and we can pick up exactly from there. Just one thing so I know, and I've probably forgotten it, what was the instruction to Margot and Brian once they'd done their bit? If there wasn't one, just
Gulliver, when he was using his influence, and Brian, it was for Brian to get him to to get Margot to safety.
Okay then, yeah, so they'll probably head away from the slums and probably back to the hairy hobgoblin or something like that on their way. Brilliant. So yeah, well done. You've managed to get the information that hopefully is what you need, and so next week, if everyone's available, we'll start off with Gulliver. Remember what you just said, Gulliver, because we're going to come back to your line at the start of the next session, which will be episode 3 of Shutting Down Sniffer, and we will see what happens. So it's been a really good adventure. Well done, everyone. Bartleby, you seem to be just recruiting the whole of Lindo as your personal. I almost like think you like Ron Moody. What is the character called? Fagin. From Oliver, if you've seen Fagin.
I'm going to just call him Count Bartleby.
Count Bartleby. Yeah, if Mr. Pickles, go onto YouTube and just type in Oliver. What's his Fagin? Yeah, and you'll see one Fagins Fagin.
Oliver Reed Fagin's better.
Yeah, and you're.
Oh no.
I think it's Ron Mooney that I say, Robin Hood is far too good, you have to pick a pocket or two. But he has a...
Oh, so I'm thinking of the wrong person. Who was Oliver Reed then?
Oliver Reed was Bill Sykes.
That's it, Bill Sykes, sorry.
Some men tremble when they see me. Sorry, yeah. Cause enough to fear me, cause they know all of the count of...
It's Bartleby.
Are you watching it, Mr.
By the time they're going.
Yeah.
In this life, one thing counts in the bark louder matters. I don't just imagine Bartleby setting up his own home for lost children. It's not like in the middle of the slums. So yeah, so well done. You have now got 2 captives. Tied and disarmed, and Gulliver has just said to gag them. Brian is escorting Margot to safety. Hengist is out in the street keeping an eye on things. So we'll pick it up next time when we need to. The 2 prize people need to go off and actually pretend to be these people and actually. Go into a rather dangerous situation. Just to remind yourself, they were going to the Saggy Mermaid. That's where they were going. Excellent. So brilliant. So does anybody have anything that they would like to say or do before we end up? Any announcements, etc., etc.?
No, I'm good, thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming along and watching us tonight. I hope you have enjoyed it. And please, if you have missed any of our previous adventures, then do go back over YouTube. I can't even put the exclamation mark in. You'll find all our previous sessions right from the time that this campaign actually started with, I think, only... Chuggerwugger and Longshanks CPG. Yeah, for the original 2, yeah. So you can go back, but recent adventures which are worth watching would be things like Guarding the Guild Mistress, especially the ending, and my favourite one of all time, the story of Sewer Jack, which was the last one. So do go back and have a look at that. If you would like to get any more information about the characters, then you can go over to my webpage, inwheels.co.uk, where there's a cast list. And also, if you're interested in Mythras and the rule system, then you can find my podcast that I do on it, which in this month actually has a whole load of information about the characters and about a campaign so far. But you can also listen to the design mechanism boss, Lawrence Whitaker, who kindly sponsors this show as well, which is absolutely very kind for him. So,
and if you're interested in playing Mythras, then we're always looking for new people to join.
No, don't say that. They've got nowhere to go on the.
No, the more the merrier.
I think what would be really interesting to have, if we got any more. I talked a lot about mystics in the last adventure, and rewatched it recently. Oh, did you like Guarding the Guild Mistress? Yeah, that was, I really did love that. I thought it was really good, especially the ending. And Darth just said that he's just finished watching the videos. Yeah, it would be really nice to have a mystic. I think that would be really a bit like Oki. But also, I think it'd be really good to have an animist as well, because we haven't touched on animism at all at the moment.
Almost,
Apart
but
from,
not quite.
Mistress Mako right at the very beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is played by in-laws.
Yeah, so if you are interested, then please do get in touch. Okay, we're going to leave it there, and we're going to see you next week if you are kind enough to come and join us. Until then, can I please remind you to be who you are and say what you think, because the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. Have fun, and we will catch you all later. And until then, happy role-playing. See you all later, people. Bye.
Bye.
Wave.
Waving. 2-hand wave. Oh.
This video
Bartleby
is
wave.
sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved.